Yes. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Alex, tell us, Manchester United is so close. You can feel it. The words, here we go. The words, total agreement. The yellow flashing line across the bottom of the screen is so close. It's palpable. A lot of reports that negotiations are still going on. Again, I reached out to a fairly credible journalist from The Guardian today, touched base with him around what's going on. And his fervent belief is that Man United and Porto have come to an agreement. United are simply waiting. And they have requested this through their good relationship with Porto and the good relationship with Alex Telles' agent, who, of course, is the agent of Rio Ferdinand, that they are waiting until they get the deals for Pereira, Smalling, and maybe even Dalot out the way first to ensure that they do not get lowballed on the deal. But it appears highly likely that this deal has already been agreed. The holdup is simply the players leaving. There's major transfer work going on at Manchester United right now. There's a likelihood of 2 players in this week with a minimum of 3 going out. I want your views. I want your opinions. I want to know what you're thinking and you're feeling right now. Before that, though, hit the like button. Please hit the like button for the Football Terrace right about now before you go any further. It's how you support the independent, original, non-corporate owned YouTubers like myself. You know, there's many of us out there. You know, the corporates are coming big, but you need to support us independents. You know, the independents are the people that have been around 4, 5, 6 years plus. They're the independents. Just trust that. So make sure you're doing that for me. Ahmed here, one of our members, says, because I'm happy. I don't know what you said because you're happy for, but I hope you are happy. Skype lines are open, so we can take your calls on this. Later on this afternoon, big update in relation to Arsenal. Going to focus on Arsenal very much this afternoon as well. This evening, we're covering the Tottenham Chelsea game in the Carabao Cup. I'm really intrigued by this one. So Terry is legit a Manchester United propagandist. It's not about propaganda, bro. I didn't get this information from Man United. I'm not sharing Man United's news. I'm sharing information that a journalist has given to me. But like ever, you take from this what you will. If you don't believe an agreement has been made, absolutely, you're right to say that. This is the kind of thing. This is it. That's life. You know, it's an opinion-based thing. It's an opinion-based thing. That's what it's about. And people that can't handle other people's opinions that differ from them, I feel sorry for you. You need lots of cuddles, lots of hugs, lots of love. But there's not much that I can do for you if you're not prepared to listen to other human beings, if you're a bit of a, if you're a hater out here. Speaking of somebody that's the complete opposite to a hater, we're joined now by Elite KJ, my co-conspirator on the Football Terrace clips. Make sure you're going into that description, by the way, people, and subscribing to Football Terrace clips right now. Really important that you do that. But KJ, bro, the Telles deal, it's moving closer and closer to an announcement. Are you excited about it yet?
Yo, Terry, you know where I stand on this whole thing. Do I still think it's going PSG? That is going down. That feeling is going down. But I ain't getting excited until I see him in the shirt. That's just what it is.
Mate, and that is sensible, bro. That is sensible. BBC Sports in the last 5 minutes have put out an article saying Telles is now Man United's top priority, which is interesting. What does that mean about Jadon Sancho? There was lots of updates this morning. One here that says Man United and Porto are still haggling over the fee, but it now looks highly likely he will arrive at Old Trafford within days. That is from Sam Pilger, who is, I think he works for, who does he work for? He works for everybody, The Athletic, Bleacher Report, The Times. Yeah, loads. Around that. And as I say, I can't name the journalist because he didn't want to be named on this, mainly because he's been on the show already once and he's been absolutely abused for his opinions. But his understanding is that the deal is pretty much formulated. They're not announcing until after we see other players leave. So the likelihood is, and we'll know, by the way, this happens. If we see a here we go and announcements for Pereira and Smalling, and then within hours or a day, you see the Porto deal go through, it pretty much confirms that as far as I'm concerned. But you are right not to get yourself excited. I mean, I got so excited about this Telles deal. For all of our members that are watching, we've already got an Alex Telles emoji. There's already an Alex Telles emoji in a Manchester United shirt. In terms of the other deals, I know we spoke about it briefly last night, but you've had a bit of time to digest it. Is an alternative to Jadon Sancho, as opposed to both coming in at the same time. If Sancho falls through, but we see Delo, Smalling, and Pereira leave, and Sarr and Telles join Donny van der Beek in, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is the transfer window in your opinion, mate?
6.
Just a 6. Okay.
Just a 6.
Why just a 6?
Just for the fact that Sancho, for me, I've said it on the show, I've said it on the United show, that Sancho for me is more than just signing a great player. It shows the direction that we're going in, and you can start to believe in the board again, or have some kind of belief that actually we're going in the right steps. For me, if we don't get this Sancho deal, it potentially could be very detrimental towards the club, in terms of if Ole doesn't get the tools that he needs, he will probably get sacked, unfortunately. And therefore, I feel like the work that he's been doing behind the scenes will get undone, and we end up just returning to the way we used to be. And that's why I'm so adamant about we need Sancho. I like Sarr. He's a very good talent, very good player. He would be a beautiful signing if it was with a Sancho coming in as well. I would have, that would be my dream. I don't think that will happen. But like, for me, it's like, if we're not able to get Sancho, Telles would be great. The outgoings are some of the best outgoings we've had in a while, but we still didn't make that forward trajectory, in my opinion. That's like substantial for me to say an 8 or a 9 out of 10 transfer window. So for me, it would just be a 6.
I think I wouldn't overly disagree with the 6. I would probably put it in as a 7. And the reason I say that includes Telles, because if you took away Trent Alexander-Arnold's crossing ability, I mean, would he even get into any of the teams in the top 6 as a general? And I mean that, and I'm not discounting it. I'm talking it's so amazing. Not just his crossing ability and his passing ability, how good he is in the defensive. I think he's a good defender, but I wouldn't say that he's like an elite defensive player. And by the way, that might change. Most players at 20, 21, 22 are not. What's elevated Trent into one of the best right backs in the world is his creative ability. Alex Telles is at that standard when it comes to his crossing ability. It opens up our creativity massively. Donny van der Beek, I think what's interesting with him, because we've barely seen him in our opening sort of 3 games this season, and even the pre-season match where he played a lot of minutes, none of us really saw it because it was behind kind of closed doors and they showed it later, and no real Man United fan was paying to see that, because we don't like the Glazers, do we? But but like, I think Donny van der Beek's going to improve us a lot more than people are kind of giving it credit for. Does that make sense? So I would, and then the Sarr deal I always want to say it's a hit or miss deal. If we end up dropping 40 mil on him, then the expectations are for him to perform. It's not like signing Dan James for 15 million pounds, which is a menial fee. This is 40 million pounds he's going to come in for. I expect to see outputs from him fairly quickly, if I'm being blunt about it. So I want to see that, but I would give it a 7, because you're right. There is that the start, like Sancho's just beyond Sarr. Similar age, I think they both are, but Sancho's beyond him. His outputs are impeccable. However, what's nice about a window like this, when it's underwhelming, sometimes there's less expectation. So if we sign Sancho, the expectation is going to be he's got to get 30 plus goal contributions, and we've got to make top 4 without any problems. If we don't, the expectation levels will drop, and maybe that releasing of pressure will help us this season. I don't know. And that's why I stay open-minded. I'll give an opinion at the end of the window how good I think it is. But how often have you sort of said, last year, people sort of said about Arsenal's window, how amazing it was, and look what happened. This year, people have said, look at Chelsea fans, how gassed they were with their transfers, and look how they've started. So I'm open-minded with it. Does that make sense? I'm not going to write the season off because I'm only giving it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I think that's important for people to do. A few questions here from members. First one says, agree, I'd have a pint with Terry if he pays. Yep, I'd pay for a beer with you, Strip Bear, no problem. Lucy Galbraith, the GOAT, says, Terry, do you still kickbox? not at any kind of level. I do a few sessions every now and then, but I don't fight or anything like that anymore. Comment here from David says, wow. He says, gosh, wow, comparing Telles to Alexander-Arnold, that's a stretch. Telles has not proved himself at the Premier League level. That's a really good point. But you could then use that same logic of Premier League level to saying that I've also said Thiago is one of the best midfielders as soon as he enters the Premier League. He's not proven himself in the Premier League. So are we can't have one rule for one and one rule for another. What I'm saying, Telles might flop. But the point I'm making to you is what Trent brings to Liverpool in terms of his crossing and creativity, Alex Telles will bring that to Man United if he can replicate his form up until, he's 27, 28 years of age. If he can replicate that into Man United, he's going to give us that extra string to it. And I think it's being undercooked slightly, that we don't have a fullback with that. It's not just good at getting to byline and cutting back. You're talking about a person that can pick the ball up in between the halfway line and the box, and like dribble. Beckham used to, and either dribble it or cross it from there and find someone's head pinpoint. That's what Trent can do. Trent can have the ball in what looks like a fairly innocuous position, and he can cross the ball into the box, into that channel that beats the goalie and beats the defender. KDB does that for City. Man United don't have a player in their team that does that. So you suddenly add that string to your bow. That could be an extra 8 goals a season. And an extra 8 goals is what can elevate you from being 5th to being 3rd. And I just think it's being slept on a little bit. Trent Alexander-Arnold is amazing. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But to deny the creative quality, the crossing ability of Alex Telles, in my opinion, would just be stupid.
Yeah, like Alex Telles, let's not get it twisted, people. He's been one of the best left backs in Europe for not just like a season, but for a couple of few seasons. His name pops up all the time when big teams are like, oh, we need a left back. What do the fans want? Telles. You know what I mean? Telles gets brought up. He's been brought up for a long time. When he was at Galatasaray, as soon as he went, I was very surprised he actually went from Galatasaray to Porto, because even then I was like, yo, Telles would get a move somewhere bigger. You know what I mean? So let's not get it twisted, people. Telles is one of the best left backs in Europe. He is, and him coming to the Premier League, I can just see him doing very, very well. Like I believe so.
And Telles is one of these players who's fairly stereotypical. It wasn't until sort of 2017 onwards he really came to life as a player. You're talking 4 seasons ago, and how old was he? He was 23. Most players, it's sort of 23 onwards where they start to hit their peak. And people are like, oh, what was he doing at 17, 18? Not a lot. But what was Jamie Vardy doing? Man just bagged a hat-trick against City. Jamie Vardy was packing biscuits at 22, 23 years of age in factories. Like this notion that, very few players are wonder kids. Very few players are 18, 19, 20-year-olds in the first teams of massive clubs in one of the top 4 or 5 leagues. I mean, mathematically proves that to you. There's not enough spaces for every player to do that, because there's only 2 or 3 teams in each of the top 4 leagues. So you've got basically 12 teams where you could be a wonder kid in. Everywhere else, you tend to come through a little slower. Does that make sense? And although you can be a wonder kid at a smaller club, you tend to get a move quite quickly. Telles just sort of fell through the cracks for many people. And who knows where Trent would be if Nathaniel Klein hadn't got injured? Who knows where Rashford would have been if we didn't have all those injuries? These things just happen, and you take your opportunities when you get them. Alex Telles' crossing ability is absolutely top notch, and I think to underestimate it is just criminal. But you know what? It happens. You know as well as I do. How many fans of rival clubs, when we weren't looking at left backs this summer, spoke about Alex Telles around? We'd love him. We'd love him. He suddenly comes to Man United, and everybody's like, "Well, actually, he's not that good. Where's he been before here?" Portuguese
league, blah 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 blah. Like, it is what it is, isn't it? Like, I saw Chelsea fans pining over him. Like, they got Chilwell, and they weren't happy, fam. I saw Chelsea fans that weren't happy about the Chilwell deal, but now they're saying, some of them are saying, "Oh, now Telles will flop it in the Premier League." I'm just like, okay, but what didn't you want him like two months ago? Let's not change your opinion now because you just got a new left back and we're getting what you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really want Alex Telles. I really do. Like, when we was linked with Reguilon and Telles at the same time, I said I wanted Telles anyway. So that's why I wasn't too upset about the Reguilon deal, because I'm like, yo, if we get Alex Tellers, I feel like it'll be a better deal anyway.
Yeah. And I
like
said the same thing on a live stream. I'd have liked both, well, one of the two, but I would have certainly picked Tellers. Comment here says, Terry, why are Man United haggling over a few million pounds, running out of time, get the deals done? I mean, I've answered this question about 1,000 times, Billy, but I respect your question as you remember. United are absolutely right to be haggling over these prices. They're absolutely right to be saving the pennies, saving the pounds, and ensuring that we're not hemorrhaging money, because we have wasted 700 million pounds over the last 7 years in the transfer market alone. And my question to you would be this. Say we save 3 million pounds on the Tellers deal. Would you be, if someone said to you, right, we can announce it now, but we're going to walk into the car park of Manchester United and but we're going to set 3 million pounds on fire, would you be happy with the club burning money? The answer is you wouldn't. So why are you happy with them wasting money and overpaying? It's the same difference. We lose that money just for the sake of getting a player in a week earlier. Neek said it right the other day. For the sake of the player getting an extra 2 or 3 games with the team versus the 4-year deal, 5-year deal you can have them for, saving 3 or 4 million pounds on every deal makes sense. Like, think about that, KJ. Would you be happy if Man United said, right, this summer we saved 25 million on deals, but because you fans don't care, we're going to go and burn it all now?
Yeah, it's one of those ones, like, we as fans, we've got to remember, yes, we want everything now. We want success now. We want the players signing now. We want all our youth players to be the best now. But it's life, innit? Life ain't a video game. It takes time. Everything takes time. And I've been so, this is the most patient I've been in the transfer window I've ever been in my life. Like, I am, Terry, you've seen me, you've heard me sometimes have my little slips and dips where I'm like, I just want to cuss and get vexed. But we need to save our judgment until the end of the transfer window, to the 5th of October or the 6th of October, whatever day you want to pick.
Yeah.
And then that's when you have your say, because if we start cussing and going mad now, and then we get Sancho, we get Tellers, and boom, we get a surprise striker or centre back or surprise CDM or another winger, you just look like an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Because you just look like a spoiled brat who wasn't able to wait.
Of course. And half the reason we're waiting is because we've been waiting for, I mean, just the fact, I mean, if it's not staring you in the face right now, if it's not staring you in the face right now as a Man United fan, then I'm sorry to say this, but you're an idiot. We've waited this long. Oh, why didn't we sell the deadwood sooner? Because we were making the people that wanted the likes of Pereira put offers together that could generate over 27 million pounds with the add-ons this year and the saving of salaries. Now he's got to perform to get that. There was no way we're going to get big fees for these players up front. But I remember 6 weeks ago, you were one of them, KJ, on this. Why don't we utilize the loan market better? Why don't we start utilizing the loan market better? Oh, but why don't we get it done sooner? You can't have that. A lot of people are saying that's a terrible analogy about burning the money. It really isn't, my friend. If you want Man United to behave in a thrifty and frugal way with money, be sensible, don't overspend, have a proper wage structure, be dominant in the transfer market, it means you haggle over pounds here, pounds there, 5 million here. Well, we're not signing you and paying that bonus you're owed. You're going to have to wait until afterwards. You have to do these things, because if you save £10 million a summer, you add that up over a 3 or 4 year period, that in itself literally pays for a marquee signing. United are struggling this summer. Forget what the Glazers have taken in interest payments and dividends. That is disgraceful in itself. Just on what we've wasted on transfer fees and overpaid salaries over the last 7 years equates to over £1 billion. If we hadn't have done that and we behaved in this manner for 7 years, CV19 would not have affected us one jot, one iota, one little bit. We wouldn't even notice it as a football club. So you simply have to behave like this. Thank you very much here to Raj for becoming a legendary member of the channel, and for Neil Driscoll for becoming an Academy member of the channel. You can go into our description below and sign up now. Shed N Blues says, Tellus is class, no doubt, will improve your left-hand side. Still think you need another centre-back alongside Maguire. And a lot of people agree with you. Agree with you on that. Just in terms of Tellus, I'm looking at stats here. So far this season, 2 games, 3 goal contributions, split into 1 assist and 2 goals so far. And just in those 2 games as well, just out of interest, he's also created 4 chances in 2 games as well, which is absolutely excellent. We go back to last season on those same statistics: 13 goals, 10 assists, and 100 chances created last season as a fullback. We then look at
That's
the season
ridiculous.
before that. Yep, season before that, 6 goals, 12 assists, 123 chances created in the 2018-19 season. And in the 17-18 campaign, 4 goals, 17 assists, and 130 chances that were created
that
in those
is
games.
actually disgusting. I know people are gonna say it's the Portuguese league, but Bruno Fernandes numbers were disgusting in the Portuguese league, and he's translated over. So I believe you can translate from the Portuguese league to the Premier League, and my word,
of course,
that's gross. That like
well, and
people,
it's just Sorry, go on.
Yeah, people. I think yes, we know Trent is amazing, and he plays in the Premier League, and his numbers in the Premier League are ridiculous. What Alex Telles is doing is not normal.
Yeah,
it isn't. It isn't normal. Like, this is people saying Alex Telles ain't gonna make it. I'm sorry, fam. Even with Portuguese league tax, yeah, you bring that into the Premier League, that's easily 4 goals and potentially 8 assists at fullback. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's good. I think these inflated numbers from a couple of players in world football have got people moving mad in terms of what they expect from footballers and from players.
Right.
Like the Messi numbers, the Trent numbers, the Lewandowski numbers.
It's crazy. We'll do some comparisons in a second. Big news around Arsenal. So Leon have just agreed a deal with AC Milan for Lucas. I can't quite pronounce this name. It's Portuguese. Paqueta, I think it might be pronounced. Paqueta. Okay. They've just announced a deal. The deal's almost done to sign him. He's an attacking midfielder. That should open up the door for Arsenal to sign Houssem Aouar. We'll do a big update for you on that this afternoon. That will come around 3-4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll wait for the dust to settle on that one, and we'll get it out there. Let's do some comparisons, though, here of Alex Telles for a moment. So far this season, Luke Shaw, no goals, no assists, 2 chances created. So you say, okay, fair enough. That's like, you look at the productivity, nowhere near. Last season, okay, this is all competitions. So 1 goal, 2 assists, 36 chances created. Alex Telles, 3 times as many chances created. But we know he had some time out injured. So let's look at the 18-19 season. 1 goal, 6.
By the way, sorry, who we comparing him to?
Sure.
Okay.
2 seasons ago, 1 goal, 6 assists, just 40 chances created. Go back to the 17-18 season. Again, no goals, no assists, just 8 chances created all season. So in one season, in last season alone, Alex Telles has outscored, out-assisted, and out-created Shaw for his combined numbers over the last 4 seasons, including this one. So it's 3 seasons in the start. So to not see that there is going to be a dramatic improvement from an offensive point of view is mad. And let's compare it to Trent. I want to compare it to Trent because Trent is regarded as the best attacking fullback in the world by many, especially Liverpool fans. Let's have a little look at Trent in that same kind of scenario. So far this season, let me change the season to this year. So far this season, Trent shows how good he is. No goals, 1 assist, but 7 chances created so far this season, which is absolutely excellent. Last year, 4 goals, 16 assists, 100 chances created, so 1 more than Alex Telles. You then go to the 18-19 campaign, 2 goals, 6 assists, 71 chances created that season. And go back to the 17-18 season, 3 goals, 3 assists, 44 chances created. So Alex Telles has had every year, he's been between 99 and 120 chance created for 3 years running. By the way, he's much older than Trent. Trent is going to get better and better as he gets older. If he comes to the Premier League and is 80% as effective going forward, we are going to have a player who is going to create for Man United, on average, I would say 80 to 90 more chances a season in all competitions. Imagine, however good or bad United are, imagine we create 80 more chances to score in a season. You're telling me if our conversion rate is at 10%, that's eight more goals, right? If it's at 20%, 16 more goals. That could be the difference between winning a trophy and not securing the top. And that's why it's going to be a massive, massive signing. And to deny these numbers and to deny these facts, I think it would be astronomically stupid of somebody to do it. You know, Trent's the best in the Premier League, and Alex Telles' numbers have been better. He has to translate into the Premier League. But even if we had someone 85% as productive as Trent, I'd be happy. Because right now we've got somebody who is 4 times weaker than Trent in terms of creativity. which
Like,
mad.
just to put into context, if we had Alex Telles against Sevilla, I reckon we would have won. As much as we love Brandon Williams for what he tries to do and his heart and his warrior spirit, the attacking quality of Brandon Williams, because he's right footed and left hand side, is very limited. But if we had Alex Telles that game, boy,
Yeah. And I think it's how do I say this in the right way without trying to be disrespectful? It's like you had him. You go back to that Sevilla game. If you put onto that pitch Donny van der Beek if Donny van der Beek's a sub, if Telles is on the field, if you can bring on Sarr rather than Dan James, do you get what I'm? So that's how I know we've been elevated. So I won't be disappointed with this summer. Will I be jumping for? Does it feel like we're signing a Zlatan or a Pogba or a Sancho? No, but we have improved on particular areas. We've done good business. We've got rid of a lot of dead wood, and we could actually, we could almost. I don't do net spend, but for all the net spend stands out there, we could almost have like a brilliant net spend summer as well. Which I tell you this now, United fans.
Someone called you. You got the United propaganda. You know it's propaganda when Terry's using net spend.
Interestingly though, but on real net spend, it'd be good because we're getting rid of players that are collectively on more money than what we're signing. So we actually, not only do we our net spend being in terms of on transfer fees only will be up, but in terms of salaries, everyone's got to remember we just got rid of Sancho on 350 to 400 grand a week. So Manchester United financially, our player cost reduction is huge for what we're spending and what the new salaries of players are compared to what we're selling for and the reduction of wages. We're going to be on a plus as a football club. And that's why it's important. We have to be on a plus because we're losing 140 million pounds of income, bare minimum. So it's important to do that, man. But yeah, I'm excited about the signings that are coming in, and Sarr will be an interesting one for me just to see how good he actually is.
Yeah, Sarr again. I really like Sarr. Sarr is so raw that it's one of those ones where if he came in, he could literally just catch on fire and just explode as a player. Sometimes these raw player needs these moves that just give them the platform just to show what they've got. Or on the flip side, it might be too much for him too early. And you can see him go into the shell a bit more. I've heard stories about Ismaila Sarr, not negative, but he's a quiet lad. He's a bit of a shy boy. I remember Sadio Mane told Troy Deeney to look after him because he is more reserved than most players. So somewhere like Man United, is that the place for him to potentially grow as a person as well? I don't know. It could be great for him to be around all these players who would be and grow. So Ismaila Sarr would be a great signing, but for me it would need to be with a top class winger like Jadon Sancho, and you would have to see. I think if Sarr came in, that might be the end for someone like Dan James, because
a few people here saying I'm on the Glazer payroll, I'm defending them. It's like I'm not defending them, but you need to. If I was employed by Man United tomorrow, my first thought would be they take hundreds of millions of pounds or tens of millions of pounds a year out the club. So my job is to get us the best possible players in for the lowest amount of money possible so that we can afford it. It just goes without saying. If you're on a budget, you're on a budget. It's not about defending the owners. What I would hope for is the owners didn't take a penny out again. What I would love for the Glazers to do is wipe all Man United's debts off themselves. But you can't make them do that. So within the situation you find yourselves in, you have to act accordingly. Do you get what I mean? It's like your boss might not pay you enough money, okay? You only have a certain amount of income. It's your responsibility to make sure your outgoings don't exceed your income. Otherwise, you're going to find yourselves in a very precarious position, in a dangerous position financially. That's your job. And that should be the job of Woodward and Matt Judge. That's where they've done a bad job, those two, over the last few years in the transfer market. They've spent beyond our means. And they've put us into a position where we are tight now financially because the crisis hit. And I want to see us behave better. And if that makes me a Glazer apologist, fair enough. I'm not really going to fight you on that, because anybody with a real brain, anyone who is smart, anyone that isn't polarized or feeling a bit vulnerable in life will completely understand that. So it's really not going to trigger me. it's not my fault that I understand finances better than clearly some of you and a lot of other YouTubers. One, think net spend is real. And two, don't understand the fact that you can't just go out there and go, just spend. Even look at City. Trillionaire owners that write their debts off, that don't have debts because they just spend what they want. Took them 9.5 weeks to negotiate a deal for Ruben Diaz, and that only got secured because they had to get rid of Otamendi in the other direction. Couldn't be done otherwise. If the Otamendi deal fell through, the Ruben Diaz deal would have fallen through, because even they have to balance the books. So people have just got to understand. This is what I get annoyed about with Sky Sports and TalkSport. These people need to be educating the masses on how football finance works, because it leads to so much anger and confusion amongst fans. It's unbelievable how people just do not understand it. Like, when a club's building a new stadium, it's like, why didn't the owners just pay for it? Because no sensible business person spends their own cash to develop things. You get investors, you borrow money, whatever it may be. Essentially, you use somebody else's money to grow yourselves, to make yourselves bigger and better. That's how it's done. You might give away a slight bit of equity, or you might give there's interest that you'll pay back, but often you don't take the risk yourself, because if that venture fails, you spent all your cash, mate. It's gone. You can't get it back. You don't do it. Sensible business people will never put their own cash into something. A lot of venture capitalists do, and philanthropists and stuff. But often that's because if you give away to certain types of developments, it saves you paying it in tax. So you might have this billionaire that's got a tax bill of like £100 million. But what he'd rather do is give that money via VC mechanisms to people and invest in certain types of businesses, or give to charities, because he'd rather give it to those organizations than pay it in tax. But he'd lose that money anyway. But people don't invest their own money if they can help it, because there's no point. And if you have the cash, you borrow it, because generally you can borrow the money for a cheaper rate of interest than what you would lose if you took it out of your savings account at that level. Until people start to understand how these things really work, they're always going to be angry. So listen to the professionals. Someone here says this is football club, not a business hall. But it is business, because you're talking about transactions worth hundreds of millions of pounds in their entirety. You can't just have someone with no business acumen dealing with that. Equally, we have people with business acumen, but then don't understand football. So they've overpaid for players. You have to get the balance right.
I'm very flippant when it comes to Woodward and the Glazers and calling them bad businessmen. Look, I know they're actually good businessmen. I'm just running the agenda. But yeah, like you said, the issue is we don't have football people. Yep. Good football people at the club. But two things, Terry. One, if you asked me who my Jadon Sancho alternative would be, I think you know who I'd say.
If you say that Gucci Mane twonk, I'm annoyed. Man's so average.
And if we got him, then it would be a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I get that. Do you know what would happen if we signed someone like him? I'm telling you now, mate. We'd sign him. We'd see all these good dribbles and no end product, and he'd be hated inside 6 months. It'd be like,
I'd say to that, Ronaldo used to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? He could have.
Yeah, it's one of them ones, bruv. You never quite know, do you? I mean, I doubt it will happen, but it would definitely excite us with some of his dribbles. There's almost zero doubt about that whatsoever. Did you hear about Leeds as well signing the midfielder from Bayern on loan?
From Bayern, Croissant or whatever.
Do you know what's amazing about it? I've seen Man United fans go, "Oh, I wish we were getting him," and I'm sitting there thinking, "Have you seen our midfield, bruv? You want another midfielder, another central midfielder? Well done, bruv. Well done.
And then the second thing is, I made a tweet I put a tweet out yesterday that's done well. And it said, if United don't get Sancho, we should just retire the number 7 shirt. What do you think?
I get you on that. Chelsea fans tweet me saying, Terry, look at Telles's chances created from open play and compare it to Shaw. Most of Telles's chances created come from set pieces. That's not a bad thing. Man United are one of the most fouled clubs in the Premier League, one of the highest level of corners in the Premier League. So you're telling me I should be deterred by the fact. Also, a lot of Trents come from corners and free kicks as well, bruv. But it's not a bad thing. Trent being a good corner taker, Trent being a good free kick taker, it's not negative. Someone tried to say that about Bruno. Well, Bruno only gets a lot of assists because he's really, 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 really good at free kicks and corners. And that's a problem because... Like, why is that but do you know what I mean? Imagine being like, you know what? If David Beckham wasn't as good a passer, wasn't that good at free kicks, wasn't that good at indirect free kicks, wasn't that good at crossing, or wasn't that good at corners, he'd have been a really crap player. Okay, cool. So we take away all his main attributes. You know, if Ronaldo wasn't good at finishing shots, and if Messi wasn't good at dribbling, they wouldn't be as good, you know. Imagine having that much. It's just, do you know what? You know, if Alisson wasn't very good at stopping shots, he wouldn't be a very good goalie, would he? Can you imagine taking away a key attribute and acting like that makes it a good thing?
Well, this is what I mean. Like, guess what? Chelsea fans wish Kepa could do. You know what I'm saying? Like some people start complaining that footballers are good at certain things. Like people complain, oh, Bruno can only score pens. Yo, Jorginho missed a pen, and look at that. Jimenez missed a pen in the Europa League. Look what happened.
A comment here from Ibrahim says, Terry, what happened to your hair? Brother, I rubbed it off on your mum's headboard. Sorry.
Gosh, every time.
I just go back to the same joke every time. It works. You know what I mean? The hair jokes is dead. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Peace. Not over yet. When's it going to be over?